Meet Gaza. Gaza is 29 years old. He's a bricklayer. He earns 95 grand a year. He's been saving since he was 21, and he's done everything right. He has 70 grand in a savings account. He brings his lunch to work, and he drives a beat 2009 Hilux. Gaza's hobbies include pokies, smoko, and looking for houses, feeling sick about what he sees, and then running back to the nearest Dragon Link. So, Gaza wants to buy a home. Not a mansion, not a penthouse, just a home. So Gaz does what any rational person does. He brings out a calculator and works out how long it will take to save a 20% deposit on the median Sydney house price. The median Sydney house price is $1.75 million. 20% of that is $350,000. Gaz, who is a stand-up gentleman, only has 70. That's 280 less than what he needs. At his current savings rate, that's another 11 years. He'll be 40 before he can even make an offer. On a house, he still can't actually afford the repayments on. And this brings us to the question for the video today. Why is Australia's housing market completely, structurally, generationally cooked? Let's start with the numbers, because they are genuinely unhinged. There's a metric called the median multiple. It's the median house price divided by the median household income. A ratio of 3.0 or below is considered affordable. Above 5.1 is severely unaffordable. Australia's national median multiple right now is 8.2. Sydney's is 13.8. To put that in context, the only city on Earth with a worse ratio than Sydney is Hong Kong. We are literally one spot behind Hong Kong, a city that is known for its coffin apartments and limited space. And it gets worse. PropTrack recently found that only 14% of median income households can afford to buy the median priced home in Australia. 3 years ago, that figure was 43%. Prices are still going up. KPMG is forecasting 7.7% growth nationally in 2026. Perth is expected to go up nearly 13%. So it's unaffordable, and it's getting more unaffordable, rapidly. So how did we get here? Because this didn't happen overnight. This took decades of spectacular policy decisions, structural failures, and a taxation system that accidentally turned houses into the world's most popular investment vehicle. There are 3 villains in this story.
Hey bro, watch your jet. Watch your jet, bro. Watch your jet!
The federal government set a target of 1.2 million new homes over 5 years under the Housing Accord. We're on track to build around 938,000, a shortfall of 262,000 homes. And the National Housing Supply Council says the shortage will actually get worse by another 79,000 homes through to 2028 to 29. So we set a goal, we announced the goal publicly, and we're going to miss it, by roughly the population of Canberra. And why can't we build faster? Because building apartments, the thing we actually need more of, is barely financially viable. Construction costs are high. Planning approvals are slow. Pre-sales are hard to get. Developers can't make the numbers work. So they don't build, and the shortage compounds. Meanwhile, detached house lots on the urban fringe keep getting more expensive because everyone who can't afford a house closer in has to go further out, which drives up demand further out, which drives up prices further out. It's a beautiful system. If you already own one. Australia's population is growing fast. Net overseas migration of over 300,000 people per year. And almost all of them land in Sydney or Melbourne first. New arrivals typically rent before they buy. So you get an immediate hit of demand on a rental market that was already running out of stock. The national vacancy rate is sitting at 1.7%. The median weekly rent nationally hit $681 in late 2025. In Sydney, it's $817 a week. National rents have gone up 42.9% in 5 years. To be clear, this isn't an anti-immigration argument. Immigration is good for the economy, good for tax revenue, good for the labour market. But you need to build the houses before you let the people in, or at the same time. We did neither. In Australia, we have something called negative gearing. Here's how it works in plain English. If you buy an investment property and the rental income doesn't cover your costs, the mortgage, the rates, the maintenance, you're making a loss, which is normally bad. But in Australia, you can take that loss and offset it against your regular income, your wages, your salary, which reduces your tax bill. So the government is effectively subsidising you to own a loss-making investment property because you get a tax break for it. Now you might think, well, that sounds like it would encourage people to build more rental housing, which helps supply. It doesn't. Because over 80% of new investor lending goes to existing homes, not new builds. Existing homes, the ones Gaza is trying to buy. So what negative gearing actually does is make it more attractive for investors, especially high income earners who get the biggest tax benefit, to outbid first home buyers for the limited supply of existing houses. It's been doing this for 30 years. And every time a government has floated changing negative gearing, the property lobby has absolutely lost its mind. Which brings us to this week, actually. On May 12th, the 2026 federal budget just dropped a bombshell. From July 1st, 2027, negative gearing will be restricted to new builds only. If you buy an existing property after budget night, you can no longer deduct your rental losses against your other income. You can carry the losses forward against future rental income, but the tax break that's been juicing the existing property market for decades? Gone. For new purchases. The government's argument, this focuses the tax incentive on actually creating new supply, rather than just shuffling existing houses between investors and first home buyers. The property industry's argument, this will crash the rental market, destroy investor confidence, and make everything worse. Who's right? Well, both and none. When Keating did something similar in 1985, rents did go up in some cities before negative gearing was reinstated in 1987. Economists are split. Treasury modelling says it'll improve affordability marginally. The Housing Industry Association says it'll reduce supply by another 22,700 homes. All I know is that people that already are negatively gearing houses will still be able to, which will just keep the wealth for the wealthy people. New buyers? Kubapedi.